But the big question is he said, like he said, he came here for the American dream to work as hard as you can, and the more work that you put into it, the better benefits that you get out of it. Do we still have that society today? Is that American dream still alive?
Oh, I think it's not as available, and it's not because we attack the very thing that helps give the American dream, freedom. You have to have freedom to have the American dream. You have to have the ability of people to risk everything, to open up a shop, to provide an asset, whether it's a service or product that other people want. Our entrepreneurs are being attacked. Success is being attacked. I mean, these are the people, these small businessmen and women are the ones that gave my dad 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. And they're being attacked. Our taxes pay for things that do not really benefit us as individuals. I always, as a mayor, as a city council member, and even as a member of Congress, those dollars are sacred. I saw them as sacred.
Listen to all these programs and so much more as we try to bring back knowledge, wisdom, and truth back into the world. And we do that right here with the Hooser Media Network, the future of media.
Truth, reason, and common sense.
This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
Would you take steps to put things into recess so those appointments could happen?
Listen, I believe in the principle of a new president being able to choose his team, and that used to not be a controversial notion. We're in a time of very divided government and a very partisan atmosphere in Washington. I wish it were not. I wish the Senate would simply do its job of advice and consent and allow the president to put the persons in his cabinet of his choosing. But if this thing bogs down, it would be a great detriment to the country, to the American people. We'll evaluate all that at the appropriate time, and we'll make the appropriate decision. There may be a function for that, and we'll have to see how it plays out.
That's going to be interesting. That was Speaker Mike Johnson. Would you go into recess to allow Donald Trump to get his confirmation or at least nominated picks into office and then to go from there? That's the question that we'll see. Look, we have 53 seats in the Senate. Why wouldn't we be able to confirm some of these? I know some of them are quote-unquote controversial. Matt Gaetz, okay, whatever. Again, I'm still curious on his legal background to make him Attorney General, but if that's what Donald Trump thinks, then that's to seriously look at. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I think, should be a slam dunk to get in there. You should see the movement of people that are supportive of RFK Jr. to go in and do what he says he's going to do, which is essentially like wipe out the FDA, which would be absolutely hilarious. By the way, real quickly,
What's in the mailbox?
Yeah, I did get an email over the break from listener Jeff. Learned a long time ago in a fight, do not let your opponents get up from the ground, no matter what they say or beg. Keep them down. The Democrats are playing possum. Roll over them like they would do to us. I completely agree. I don't know what their play is here to try and play nice right now, whether it is to just kind of get off scot-free to not have Donald Trump investigate them, because it could be a political ploy of, well, if Donald Trump investigates us, look, we're playing nice. We accepted the results. We're doing the good thing, and he's the authoritarian that's coming after us. We're just the innocent victims over here. Are they playing that card? Are they plotting something to stop the transition peacefully, or just at least make it more rough when he does transition? What's the end game? I'm really curious on how that's going to play out. To talk about some of that and so much more.
What's trending today?
Really happy to have on the program. It's been a while since we've had him on the show. He is a political commentator, podcaster, writer, and so much more. Mr. Michael Vasquez. Mike, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Hello, Andy. It's really good to see you, and I hope everyone's going to have a good Thanksgiving coming up next week. I hope this program, I want everyone to keep watching the show. At the holidays, give them lots of time. Watch your show.
It's wild. It's a crazy time, and things are happening fast. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. It's hard to believe that we're already just a week away from Thanksgiving. That blows my mind. I know you've been paying attention to this. What is the objective here? Have you noticed Democrats and the media totally changing their tone from you're literally the worst person that humankind has ever created to now, well, we need to accept the results and do the peaceful transfer of power? That doesn't sound like normal Democrats. What's the end goal? What are they up to right now, Mike?
Well, the Democrats are absolutely confused right now. They're at a loss. They didn't expect to lose this badly, and now they're trying to reset. One of the biggest things is also we're seeing that they're trying to plan for the next stage. We just had over the weekend Congressman Willie Nickel out of North Carolina's 13th district who decided that he wants to set up a shadow government, a alternate government inside the United States to oppose Donald Trump. That's insurrectionist and possibly treasonous. But that's one aspect of what they're trying to do right now, which is to try and build up steam so that they can win the midterm elections. They just don't know how to get there. They don't have anyone in their roster to actually make it happen. And they lost the trust of everyone because they lied to everyone. I mean, who's in charge right now? We have a part-time zombie president in Joe Biden, and we know that for a fact. We know that Kamala Harris has failed at everything she did, and she only has 3 answers to every question. They don't have anywhere to go, and they're trying to figure out how to do that. So
Great
that's
point.
kind of what we're seeing as the environment that we're walking into.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, they love their shadow government, and the one they have functioning right now is about to go away, which is the fourth branch of government, this administrative bureaucratic state that is going to go away. If we dismantle the Department of Education, if we clean out the FDA, if we do this DOGE, this Department of Government Efficiency, and we look at all the wasteful spending, all the contractors just making ridiculous amounts of money by overcharging for their products and services, we go after and cut all and slash all of these agencies to make them not necessarily go away, but just make them more efficient and get rid of the bureaucrats in there that don't have experience in the departments or whatever they're supposed to be overseeing. That is their shadow government right now. So they essentially, you're right, have to set up almost a secondary shadow government because they're about to lose all of the power and influence that they've had for so many decades.
Yeah, but think about it. One of the things they're absolutely terrified about is when Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have been put in charge of increasing the amount of government efficiency. This is something that no one should be upset about. The less that the government spends and prints money, the more that poor people get to keep their money, the middle class get to keep their money. But they don't want that. They don't want to see any cuts in, say, the Department of Education, which could easily have a cut if not be completely removed, because that takes away their indoctrination cycle that teaches kids, as they've been doing over the last 8 years, that if you're white, you're evil. That's CRT. They were pushing that really big. Intersectionality, which was supposed to get Kamala Harris elected, and the fact that Donald Trump, of course, is Orange Man Bad, the devil himself. So these are some of the fears they have because all of their deep state institutions that they have been relying on for a couple of decades, they're gone. They're going to be going away or at least be very diminished, and that means their power base is walking away. Plus, they lost the fact that they wanted, as we know, Kamala Harris said, the reason why we have open borders is so that they can have a path to citizenship and have a dependent class of individuals that will vote Democrat every time. Well, they're going to lose that because of the mass deportations, which no one should be upset about unless you like having Venezuelans take over your apartment complex in Colorado. I generally don't like that idea. So, and I think most of America agrees with me.
Yeah.
So this is why they're panicking, and I think that's why we're seeing their actions like this.
So do you think that they're playing nice because they have to, or do you think that they're trying to play nice to say, well, if we just play nice, then Trump won't come after us and investigate the shady things that we've done. So that way, if he does, then we've been playing nice. We've been doing really good. We accepted him, and now we're the victims because he's coming after us. Why would he come after us? Do you think they're trying to play the victim card here?
They're not actually playing nice. They're playing delay. They're trying to buy themselves enough time to be able to come out with the next wave. I mean, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going to actually be the new voice and vision of the Democratic Party? Yeah. Or are they going to try and go with Newsom or maybe J.B. Pritzker out of Illinois or Gretchen Whitmer? They're not quite sure yet, so they need the time. And the easiest way to buy that time is to say, hey, we're not going to oppose anything. We're going to let everything happen. But look at what they are doing at the same time. They're sabotaging Donald Trump right now with Joe Biden escalating the problem over in the Ukraine. They're not resolving anything with the American hostages held by Hamas. They're not resolving the situation with the Houthi terrorists that are attacking the Red Sea. All of these things are affecting America. They're not touching any of that, And then they're also trying to demonize people like RFK Jr., who just wants to make everyone healthy. Why is that a bad idea? Hey, Fruit Loops, let's make it with real food instead of a bunch of chemicals. Oh, my God, how can you possibly do that? He's an evil madman. Do you see how they're making it more difficult for the next administration, for Trump as he comes in, all in the effort to give themselves enough time to come up with a new message to say, hey, guess what? They're horrible, they're terrible, everything failed. Come back to the Democrats.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah,
if they can slow it down, and that's the big question is, will they be able to slow it down? We have the majority in the House, although it may be slim. We have the 53 votes in the Senate, and I would say that's a relatively comfortable, even if one or two try to walk away, we still have a majority there. So how big of an obstacle is that going to be? And is this narrative right now with the media of, Matt Gaetz is too controversial, RFK Jr. is too crazy, we're not going to confirm them, there's people that are on the fence about them. Is that legitimate, or is that just the media trying to instill that mindset? Because we have a majority of Republicans that could very easily understand the mandate that we gave them when we voted them in for a majority for both chambers and the presidency, like we saw in 2015, and didn't get anything done. Do they recognize that? And do you think it's going to be an easy confirmation process for the Senate because of the comfortable majority that we have right now?
For most of the people, it will be comfortable. Tulsi Gabbard's going to get through. Hegseth is going to get through. Carr and Rubio, they're not going to have problems, even Stefanik. But when we're coming to Matt Gaetz, when we're talking about RFK, these are people that the Democrats have hated with a passion, especially RFK, because they consider him a traitor. And so they're going to do some horse trading. This is what I think you're going to see. A bunch of backroom deals with Democrats that are in areas that usually go more Democrat. And they're going to make some deals with them and tell them they'll be demonized unless they vote against. They're going to try and bring it under 50. They're going to be targeting 4 different Republicans for that. And that would be the only way they can get this done. I don't think it's going to be successful, but they are going to damage the Trump administration and try and make him look bad with the public, which gives them the opportunity for the midterm elections in 2026, and hopefully also disrupt some of the international deals, say with the EU, which has been moving center-right, to make it harder to do business with them, to distance ourselves from the United Kingdom, because Keir Starmer is a leftist, and so is France, and also make it difficult with China to try and resolve the Taiwan issue. That's their goal, to put up these roadblocks and buy themselves that time.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. We're already starting to see it, which is why Joe Biden approved the use of U.S. missiles in Ukraine right now to be able to shoot off into Russia, which is going to cause a whole nother escalation for them to say, hey, well, Donald Trump, you said you were going to resolve this. How come you haven't been able to resolve it? And if they can just knock down the agenda, then that's their entire goal, just to show that Donald Trump was a fraud and a liar and couldn't do what he said he was going to do. Mike, hang on the line. We got to take a hard break here right around the corner. I want to talk about the Republican side of the aisle. Are we prepared as a party to do the hard job that we were set out to do with this election? We'll do that when we come back right around the corner for Monday. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I'm retired Chief Patrol Agent Chris Clem. In my over 27 years as a Border Patrol agent, I've never seen a border this bad. Under the Biden administration, we're facing the worst border crisis in the history of our country. And that's why I've partnered with Americans for Prosperity. Washington think tanks talk. Politicians play political football. But Americans for Prosperity is actually doing something about the crisis. AFP has taken hundreds of concerned citizens to the border to see it for themselves, sharing policy solutions, organizing communities, educating, training, and mobilizing concerned citizens, advocating for real, tangible reforms that will provide more infrastructure, more agents, and more technology. In other words, AFP is advocating for reforms that will make us safer and stronger. And that's what makes AFP different. They aren't interested in political games. They're interested in results. Because Americans for Prosperity is where freedom and opportunity win. Learn more at securebordersecureamerica.com.
Now more than ever, it's important to support companies and organizations that share our values. Our votes are not enough. Patriot Mobile not only shares our beliefs, but does something about it, as they're America's only Christian conservative wireless carrier, and they donate a portion of every dollar to organizations that fight for causes that we actually care about. And now, just for my listeners, get free activation with offer code REASON. Again, go to patriotmobile.com and use promo code REASON for free activation. That's patriotmobile.com, user code REASON. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently, as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com.
What if I told you one regular citizen helped Coloradans save $3 billion? Meet Sherry. See, state officials attempted to put an end to our annual tax rebate, hurting families like mine. But Sherry
Partnered with Americans for Prosperity, we mobilized a grassroots army, got the word out, and won,
saving taxpayers billions of dollars.
See how you can reignite the American dream with Americans for Prosperity, where freedom and opportunity win.
Hey, the live show may be almost over today, but it doesn't have to be for you. As always, enjoy the Voice of Reason with our daily podcast by finding the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites. Just find us, subscribe, have it automatically downloaded, and listen at your convenience whenever you want to bring some more reason into your day. And a lot of people are doing it. Also, you can always find the video of the show, along with articles, additional commentary, and maybe a few sarcastic remarks by following us on our social media. Stay up to date with everything going on with the show, including upcoming guests, breaking news stories, interesting articles, and maybe some memes. Help us in the ongoing battle with censorship and shadow banning from social media by following us on the social media at Hooser Reason on all of our social media sites. For all these social media links, podcast links, contact information, or just general information of the show, go to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can listen live every day, read our latest monthly blog, find our radio affiliate list, or even listen to our latest infomercials and special content. Plus, you can always reach out to the program by sending me a message on social media, emailing us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or sending an email through our website at HooserReason.com. Whether it's content on the show, whether it's a guest that you've liked or disliked, or whether you want to disagree with me, and disagreement's always appreciated. While you're there, make sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter. Each month, you'll get the latest update on the show, updates from the Hooser Media Network, and our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Finally, if you want to help support the show, become a member of our Patreon site and help us fight for the cause of truth, reason, and common sense every day, and get more of the same by becoming the ultimate Hoosierholic. Get additional interviews that sometimes we don't always get to air on the radio. Hear our special segments or even our infomercials before anyone else, and have a chance to chat with other great Hoosierholics from all over. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, you're not only helping the fight for conservative values, you're helping us get more content and information out through the Hooser Media Network. Find out more information online at HooserReason.com. Lastly, follow and support all of our partners with the show. The Voice of Reason has been growing more and more every year, and it's because of so many great partners helping us get the message out to you. From show partners to local radio affiliates in your area to streaming sites, podcasting sites, and more, we have so many supporters and listeners now than ever before, and we want to thank you. It's time to bring back common sense, and we do it right here every day with the Voice of Reason.
America's safe space for common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is. Welcome back into it. So great to have you today on a Monday, setting that tone for the entire week, trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time. By the way, as we talk about, making us healthy again and cleaning up our foods, I got to give a shout out. I know we're all over on multiple stations across the country right now, but I got to give a shout out to a brand new partner here in the Wichita area, Fizz Burgers and Bottles, a brand new partner with us here on the show. And welcome aboard. Love those guys. I actually went out there on Saturday and had my burger with them. Oh, my. Muy bueno. I'm telling you, man.
Winning.
That's what I'm talking about. We talked about the health and using the natural oils and using natural ingredients and making things from scratch and not using preservatives, which is what they do, which is why I'm so really happy to partner with them. And you can definitely make the taste so much different. So that's awesome. Fizz Burgers and Bottles here in the Wichita area. We appreciate those guys very much. Right now, Michael Vasquez, a political commentator, podcaster, writer. I got to read this to you as well. Over the break, I saw this comment. Apparently, the New York Times has done a quote-unquote fact check on RFK Jr. as they attacked him, saying, I got to read this. There you go. This is how out of touch the media is, ladies and gentlemen. This is crazy. Mr. Kennedy has singled out Fruit Loops as an example of products with too many artificial ingredients, questioning why the Canadian version has fewer than the U.S. version. But he's wrong. The ingredient list is roughly the same, although Canada's has natural coloring made from blueberries and carrots, while the U.S. product contains red dye 40, yellow 5, and blue 1, as well as butylated also known as BHT, and lab-made chemicals that are used for quote-unquote freshness, according to the ingredient label. So he's a liar because he's attacking too many chemicals. They're all the same except for the chemicals that are in the U.S. version compared to the Canadian version. How dare he lie to us? Come on, man. That's what we're up against right now, Mike. This is an insane world we're living in.
I tell you, they have to, because they demonized RFK, and the media had a blackout on him. They have to justify why they wouldn't cover him, let people hear about this during the campaign trail. They have to say, well, see, he's evil and crazy, and it's just all wrong. Otherwise, we would have let you hear from him, and Democrats would have lost even bigger. So that's why they're doing that. But it's part of what we're seeing. The media right now, they're kind of in this crazy phase where they still want to demonize Trump and all of his cabinet, but at the same time, they're trying to transition to take advantage of it because they know they've failed. Everything they've been pushing for the last 8 years, no one's watching anymore. No one wants to hear them because they have no more credibility. And so they're in that crazy phase right now. They're not sure which way to go.
Which is hilarious. We got just about a minute and a half left here, Mike, so let's shift gears to the Republican side. Do we have the spine? I know it's more of a MAGA party than before. It's a more conservative party than when we took office in 2015. But do we have the spine? Does John Thune and the Republican leadership have the spine to do the hard work when Trump comes to them and says, we're cutting the Department of Education, we're cutting and downsizing the IRS, we're going to wipe out the FDA, we're going to downsize these agencies that DOJ recommends? Do we have the spine within Republicans that are usually scared of their own shadow? Can they actually make it happen in the next few years?
I think Mike Johnson and John Thune are going to actually get in line, not because they agree with Donald Trump in reducing the amount of illegal immigration or the fact that tariffs are going to help our economy, but because the American people already said that's what they want. And that means they're set up automatically not only to win the midterm elections, but also 2028 if they just allow the cream of the crop that is in the cabinet to actually run in 2028. Give them the time to grow. So they will do it, not because they want to, but because that's how they win and how they maintain power. And that's the big focus of Congress, Democrat or Republican. Stay in power.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. I hope they remember themselves that when they took office in 2015 and we gave them a mandate and they fought against it, that's why we lost it. We've given them another chance. And I know the DOJ report is supposed to come out apparently on July 4th in 2026, which is the year of the midterm. So it sounds like that's going to be the initiative of, oh, hey, this is what the Department of Government Efficiency came out with our report. This is where we can do all these massive cuts for the year in 2026. And then that's going to be the campaign for Republicans to say, hey, elect us and keep us in power so we can actually get it done. So it's kind of done smartly, and it holds Republicans accountable to actually do what we want them to do and what we elected them to do as well. Mike, real quick, we got about 30 seconds. Tell us where we can find your podcast and where we can find all your content.
No Soundbites Allowed. That's with an I. No Soundbites Allowed. It's on all social media. Just look that up, and you can find me in Google as well, even if you're in France. And I look forward to seeing everybody.
I love it. No Soundbites Allowed. Mike, it's always good to talk to you, brother. We got to get you back on again real soon. Always really enjoy our conversations here on the program. We're out of time, though. Got to do it again for tomorrow. Until then, be your own voice of reason. This is The Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio. Bye. Hey, Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great
everybody.
shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, the dragon of the southern tier, of the political dragon here in the Bronx. I forgot where I was at for a moment there. And I'm happy to be here with everybody. I hope you've all been having a great time. Obviously, you've just been listening to me speaking with Andy Hooser and the Voice of Reason, which is syndicated across the United States, mostly in the central United States, but across the entire country. Everybody should be able to hear me right now, right? Let me double check. Yep, okay. I got my sound back. So, folks, I always enjoy talking to Andy. I've known Andy for several years now. He's a really great guy, and I always enjoy getting on the show with him, talking with him about the various issues that are on out there. So you've had the opportunity. I know that there was a slight delay in the audio. You heard me on the phone. There was a little bit of feedback, so I just decided to make sure that you could hear me clearly. I jumped on the phone, killed my audio so that you could be able to hear it. So I know there was a little bit of a time delay there. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. Miss Kay, thank you for joining me. Thank you for letting me know that it didn't seem like the sound delay was too bad. But I ask everyone now. So we were talking about what's going on with the Trump cabinet. We were talking about what's going on with Representative Willie Nickel and the shadow cabinet. We were talking about what Republicans should do under the Trump administration. We're talking about Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. We're talking about John Thune, who's going to be the majority leader in the Senate. We were talking a little bit about what's happening with the news media and the embarrassment of the New York Times, that they're so desperate to demonize RFK to try and find some way to stop him because he used to be a Democrat, and God help him, he's now working with Trump, so that means he's evil incarnate, and they're so busy trying to say he's just wrong, he's crazy, he's evil. The New York Times threw their credibility away, and they know he's right. We have chemicals in our cereal that we give to our kids today, and in Canada, they use natural foods. Same thing with sodas. The difference between here in the United States and overseas, like in Europe, is that they use natural products in Europe. They use chemicals here in the United States. And gee, do you think adding a bunch of chemicals and preservatives in the United States might have some negative impact on people as opposed to using all natural foods, or at least more of them in the ingredients? I think that's pretty straightforward. I think we can understand that the New York Times is doing this out of bias. They're, as I said with Andy, they're trying to justify why they blacklisted RFK Jr. It was because of the politics, but they're saying it's because he's crazy. Is it crazy to have less chemicals in our food? I don't think so. I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense. But they don't want you to think about that. They just want you to go with their headline, oh, he's crazy and he doesn't know what he's talking about, even though he's absolutely correct. And the New York Times had to put a retraction in that they didn't want to tell you was a retraction until you get to the bottom of the article. And reading the bottom of it, you suddenly realize, oh, they had to correct themselves. They didn't want to say they were wrong. They didn't want to say that they were playing partisan games. They just wanted you to, if you read all the way through the article, which they didn't want you to do, they just wanted you to see the headline. Then they say, well, you know, we screwed up. We were wrong. It's not true. This is all fake, because they're trying to preserve their power, the base of power, because they're partisan. They want Democrats to have as much power as possible until they can get to 2026, say that, see, it's always, we were always right, you were always dumb, you didn't know, and follow us now, vote Democrat in the midterm elections. That's what they are trying to engineer, well, at least some of them. At the same time, we're seeing that the Morning Joe show, where Mika and Joe Scarborough, they just went down to Mar-a-Lago. They begged Literally, this was the equivalent of them begging Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States, begging him to please reconsider and to come onto their show to allow them to be able to cover him, even though they have spent the last 8, maybe 9 years now demonizing Donald Trump, demonizing half of the American people, saying that you're wrong, you're evil, he's 1930s German. They've called him everything, including dirt, but now they have to beg because literally, they have about as many views. I have videos. I've had videos and I've had shorts that have gotten more views than their programs on MSNBC, on CNN, on NBC. We just got the numbers over the weekend. They're down to 25, 50,000 viewers on some of their programs in the key demo. Meanwhile, my small channel, which is trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, we're not even there yet. My channel is able to we have videos that have 100,000, 20,000, 15,000. We have shorts that have 15, 17,000 views. Think about that. They have tens of thousands of people working at CNN, MSNBC, each company, 10,000 people apiece. They have millions, tens of millions of dollars in revenues, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and equipment. And they are getting the same kind of viewership as some of the coverage and political commentary that I do. They have failed, and they know it. And now they have to come begging and pleading to Donald Trump, to the Republicans, to say, please give us a chance. We'll be more fair. That's why you're seeing that The View is now going to have a pro-Trump member because they have to change. We've seen that CNN and the Washington Post, the newspapers, are changing their press rooms to be more of a neutral, if not pro-Trump kind of viewpoint, because they realize the public's fed up. They've lost their credibility. It's over. And they know it. We know it. And so now they have to rebuild. Miss K says they're Fruit Looping him. Yes, you're right. So it's kind of interesting. And I enjoyed having the chance to talk with Andy about all of this. We didn't really get to talk about Tulsi or Matt Gaetz. And one of the things I have to say, and I wanted to say it there, but it's difficult when you're on syndicated radio rather than like with my program. One of the things I wanted to bring up about Matt Gaetz, I didn't talk about it yesterday. It was a 7-hour show, so you would think I would capture everything, but I didn't. You can go and see the Sunday live stream for yourself. But what I didn't mention about Matt Gaetz, or at least I didn't go into depth with it, Matt Gaetz, a member of Congress, a representative in Florida, he was running for re-election in 2024. If Democrats actually had any evidence of anything that Matt Gaetz had done, if he had sexual abuse, they're saying that he paid people for sex, if he had any of these kind of allegations, if they were true or there was any credibility to these allegations against Matt Gaetz, why didn't they put them out during the 2024 election cycle? Why didn't they inform the voters in Florida, in the Florida 1st District? Why didn't they send that information, have it on commercials, show the world that, hey, Matt Gaetz was buying sex, that he was a sexual predator or assault? This is what they want to claim now, because Matt Gaetz is looking to become the AG under the Trump administration. Why didn't they say it before? Is it possibly because this is let's excuse the pun, a trumped up charge, that they're making a lot of bluster to try and turn the public tide against Matt Gaetz, to give Republicans some reason to not go forward, to be afraid of losing other elections so that they can try and force him out and get someone else? But the reality is, if it was true, I have to believe, if these charges were true, these accusations were real, then they would have shown us the evidence already. and they would have got him out of the Congress already. But instead, they let people vote. They let him get reelected without any obstacle. They just wanted to use Matt Gaetz as a way to say, see, Republicans are evil, Republicans are bad, give money to Democrats, vote Democrat. They just wanted this as an opportunity to get another ad campaign so in the midterm elections they could have more money to try and get more power. That's why they didn't bring this up during the 2024 election cycle, and why they're saying it now, because he's going to be AG and they didn't expect that. Now, you may agree with that theory, and it is a theory, but that is my conclusion based on the evidence that we have. If there was something seriously there, they would have forced Matt Gaetz to either retire, resign, or they would have used it to bolster their Democratic candidate to get Matt Gaetz to lose in the 2024 election cycle. None of that happened. This isn't serious. This is not the same thing as, say, Andrew Cuomo, who was being investigated for 7 attempts of sexual assault accusations, 7, and then the AG, Letitia James, for New York State, found that there were 11, not 7, 11 separate cases that she confirmed of sexual assault. But she didn't charge him with anything because, well, he resigned. See, that's how they force people out. That's what the Democrats are used to. When they have the evidence, oh, Democrats resign. Or they ignore it completely. Did we forget about New Jersey, the senator in New Jersey, who got a gold brick as part of a bribe? He got a brick of gold to bribe him. This is Senator Menendez. And how long did it take? With all of the allegations, he was brought up twice before the the Senate Ethics Committee to investigate him for bribery before they actually had something that stuck. It wasn't that he was any less guilty. They just were protecting him. But they don't want to protect. The Democrats don't want to protect Republicans, but they have nothing. They had plenty on Menendez. They have nothing on Gaetz. But this is the way that the media is moving. So these are some of the things that I'm thinking about now that I spoke to my good friend Andy Hooser, now that I was able to speak to people in the center of America and across this country through his syndicated show, which I do recommend people check out every day of the week. He's syndicated on multiple channels, and I hope people will check that out. But I thought this is something that we should be talking about because realistically, Democrats they're so confused right now. Trump has a plan. That's clear. That is absolutely clear. He knows exactly what he wants to do to fix this nation. And he is enacting that plan, which is why this is the fastest cabinet arrangement that we have ever seen. In 56 years of my life, I've never seen any president put together a team as fast as we have seen with Donald Trump. He has already thought about every single person on that list. He's already talked to every person on that list. And he had a plan. And he has a plan for policies that he's looking to put in place. Yes, tariffs will make things more expensive unless you buy American. Gee, that's a part of an America First policy. And that could help America. Oh, we're going to shrink the size of the government, cutting out a bunch of the waste, not spending $500 billion on laws and policies that no longer exist, which is what the Biden-Harris administration did in 2023. That is a fact. It's not a question. So let's cut down on that waste and let's actually focus on the issues that are important to Americans, like getting rid of the illegal aliens. As an example, as I mentioned with Andy, how about those Venezuelan gangs in Colorado that are taking over apartment complexes? How about the MS-13 gangs that are flooding all over California? How about here in New York this weekend, there was 2 men, migrants, illegal. We believe they were illegal aliens that got into a fist fight with police officers in the subway. One of them is carrying a loaded rifle, and they're illegal. and the guy lives right above a daycare. Yeah, these are the people we don't need in America, that we didn't want in America. And if we had closed the border, if we had enforced the rules of asylum and had a remain in Mexico policy, which is only, it's very simple. You want to claim asylum. Fantastic. Stay in Mexico. We will vet you, it takes 18 months to 24 months for us to find out if you are who you say you are, if you're a criminal or not, and whether you have a legitimate claim. If you do, you get to enter into America as a legal migrant, and life is good. If you don't, go back to your home country or go to another country, the first country you would have gotten to, and make your asylum claim there, like the law says. That's it. And if you're a criminal, you don't get to come in. We need to do these things. This is important. And if we do this, if we do what we're hearing from Donald Trump, you will see that there will be less criminals coming into the United States. There will be less terrorists. Please do not forget that under the Biden-Harris administration, the number of known and suspected terrorists in America has increased by 3,400%. That isn't my number. That is the number coming from the government itself, the CBP, Customs Border Patrol. Their numbers, as published by the government, it is a 3,400% increase in the number of known and suspected terrorists because of the open border policy promoted by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the left, the Democrats and progressives. This is a danger, a present danger. So should we deport all of those criminals? Absolutely. Is anyone upset about having fewer gangs, having fewer terrorists in the United States? I don't think anyone does. But this is the way I feel about it. Let me take a look at some of the comments here. And I do thank everyone who did watch the show. Please don't forget to show Andy Hooser some love, either on Facebook or on Twitter, some of his channels. Give him a like. Please give me a like and a share as well. Most of all, subscribe. But don't forget to give Andy some love as well, so that he will invite me back so I can do it again. Let me see. Planet X. Hello, Planet X. Nice to see you. First time that I've seen you on the channel. I appreciate you. Planet X says, hello, I dig the channel. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you have any critique, any way I can make it better, please let me know. We will try to always improve. But I appreciate and thank you for taking some time to see us. Rick Reynolds. Rick, I'm not sure if you've been on the channel before. I think this is your first time. Thank you for watching the channel. Thank you for the comment as well. Rick Reynolds says, I suspect that Matt Gaetz was nominated for Attorney General to get him out of the House of Representatives, where he was a pain in the Republican butt. He's the one most responsible for Speaker's woes. Well, you make a good point there. And Rick, yes, Matt Gaetz, like many in the Freedom Caucus, was someone who was very vocal. He was outside, well, not exactly outside the establishment, but not part of the establishment that we see. Mike Johnson, absolutely center of the establishment, and that's why he's the Speaker of the House. Matt Gaetz is one of the people, MTG, there are a few others, Jim Jordan, that make a lot of noise and make it difficult for the establishment to make deals and to ignore some of the issues that the American people are very concerned about. So I do understand what you're saying there. Getting some of, but then look at the picks by Donald Trump. Elise Stefanik, who is also a very vocal individual, and I've met Elise before, back in 2014 when I was running for Congress. I got to meet her when she was running for Congress for the first time in Herkimer County in upstate New York. She's also very vocal. She's a little bit more towards the establishment, a little bit more towards the center of the Republican Party, but she's also a vocal voice. They didn't remove her for that reason. I think that Trump is looking at it not to help the Republican Party or the more establishment core of the Republican Party. I think he thinks that Matt Gaetz is a bulldog. He's effective. He has a desire to see justice done, to be more effective, and he's not afraid of pissing off the establishment. Very often, like Merrick Garland, he is an establishment Democrat. He's going to do whatever the party says. Merrick Garland is a yes man. And this way, we have seen him bend over and do whatever the party wants, and then as long as it's aligned, he'll do whatever Joe Biden has wanted, or at least whoever's in charge of America when Joe Biden isn't coherent, which is about 18 hours every day. So we need to step away from that. We've had far too many attorney generals and other cabinet members that are more dedicated to preserving the power of whichever party than actually achieving the goals for the American people. And as we can see, Trump has a cabinet and has policies that are meant to benefit the American people. Whether everyone likes it or not, you may not like it, and that's fine. You don't have to like policy. Is the policy effective? Is it efficient? Is it beneficial? That's what Trump has been focused on. And when you're trying to focus on being beneficial, effective, and efficient, you need individuals in your cabinet that are not beholden to the establishment. You need people who are more vocal. That, I think, is the primary reason why Matt Gaetz was picked for AG, because he is. He's not part of the establishment Republican Party. He is a Republican, but he's more focused on being effective and efficient and beneficial. Now, you may disagree with that. That's fine, but that's the way I'm taking it. But I understand why you're saying what you have said, Rick, and I thank you for bringing that up because it's a valid question that we don't have the answer to right now. But I think it might be a little bit of both of our points, your point and mine, that why Trump picked him. But Trump isn't known for playing nice with establishment politics of either party. Miss K is also, Miss K is giving you guys a nice hi. By the way, Miss K is down under in Australia. So it's always wonderful to see her. She's about 12 hours behind us. So it's morning for her right now, while it's becoming night here on the East Coast. So it's kind of neat to see her back with us and commenting. Let me see. So when I was talking with Andy, was there anything else that I didn't get a chance to talk to him about? Because we were talking about Trump's cabinet. We really didn't talk about Stefanik as the UN ambassador. I think she will do fine as that. She's an intelligent woman. She's aware of international politics. She's got lots of experience. She was an intern in the Bush administration. She's been in Congress for several years. She's dealt with a lot of issues. I think she'll represent America very well. She's a strong, outspoken woman who is very familiar with the issue. So we're not going to be embarrassed by her by any means. I think she'll do fantastic. Rubio as the Secretary of State. That's a little bit of a nod more towards the establishment. And Marco Rubio is essentially an establishment Republican. He's very much a party man, not necessarily a yes man on all issues, but he's more so in that line. Now, I know, and I was talking with a friend of mine about this the other day, a lot of people, when we think about Marco Rubio, we think about his response to the Democratic State of the Union, where he was having a panic attack, apparently. We think of him on the stage in 2016 and being called Little Marco by Donald Trump. He didn't do well in that Republican primary. But that's not a fair way of looking at Marco Rubio. I mean, that's 8 years ago. He's come into his own. He's learned to be a better statesman, a better senator. I think he's been doing a good job, except for his red flag law recommendations. I think they have been horrendous. I think he was pandering at that time when he put that forward, and I hope he never tries to get near red flag laws again. Do not touch the Second Amendment. Marco Rubio, get out of that. I called him out for that at the time. I call him out for that now. But I think he'll be fine. And he's more of a nod to the Republican Party to say that Donald Trump isn't forgetting about them. He is aware of the party politics, and he's going to play ball at least a little bit with them so that they can get some of their agenda done as well, which, fair enough. That's a fair way of looking at it. Well, I try, Miss K mentions that I bring the facts. I try. And Rick mentioned that he was saying thank you. Rick, it's always, I love hearing the audience and their voice, their thoughts, what you guys are thinking about all the various issues. It's important. I have experience and I've been doing this for 18 years, but that doesn't mean I have all the greatest ideas. Doesn't mean my conclusions based on the facts are correct. Not at all. And that's why I want to hear you guys. It's the First Amendment. I truly believe there's 350 million people in America with all different types of nationalities and ethnicities and habits and religions and everything else under the sun. We've got it all in the United States. You know what? If we hear from more people, that huge expanse of minds that exist in America, somebody will come up with better ideas. If you want to be into the whole green energy, renewable energy, there is some student somewhere in America right now who has a brilliant idea about renewable energy that actually works, that will actually be functional and effective, because we don't have that yet. Now, that kid may not figure it out for another 20 years. He may not figure it out for another 50 years, but he may have that answer. And if we don't encourage that kid to speak up, to talk about his idea, to do the research, to try and make that plan as effective, that idea in his head, to make it as effective as possible, we'll never get renewable energy. That's what the First Amendment's about. Whether or not do I think that the renewable energy as it's been put together right now by the left, which is where the government picks and chooses what company it wants to subsidize and fund, essentially who the government is going to take your money and they're going to give it to this company or that company because they like them, usually because it's beneficial to their donors, almost always, and they fail almost always. Why? Because the government's horrible at picking winners and losers. Because the government doesn't know anything about the marketplace or doing anything effectively, because the only thing the government is supposed to do is what we can't do, which basically breaks down to protecting the nation, protecting people. That's about it. The government really isn't effective at anything else, and we've seen that over and over again. That's why we need to shrink the size of the government. So that's why I enjoy Rick, for Rick, Planet X, for people who are watching. I enjoy hearing your opinions, even when you don't agree with me. That's fine. You don't have to agree. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a progressive. You don't have to agree with me, not just because of the color of my skin or my gender or any other reason. If you don't agree, say so. As long as it's respectful, I'm happy to hear what you have to say. Let's have that conversation. I know it's a little bit unusual because you normally hear in social media, well, you have to obey, whatever the Democrats say. It has to be right, and you have to agree. Otherwise, you're the bad guy. Not on this channel, not on this program with me. No, as long as you're respectful, disagree. Let's have the conversation. So, that being said, I do see we have some more comments here. And Planet X says, whoever the mainstream news, alphabet channels like ABC, NBC, MSNBC, so forth, whoever the mainstream is hating is basically a litmus test for them being good picks. More and more, the more and more we go through this process, the more I think you're right. We have seen that, especially in 2024, all of the major mainstream news media destroyed their own credibility to pump up Democrats and most especially Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. All of the news media threw out their credibility because they didn't tell the American people that Joe Biden is mentally deficient, that he is incapable of doing the job of the presidency, that he's only doing the job of the presidency from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. 5 days a week. Now that's absolutely relevant information that was hidden from us. The news media knew this. They could have told us at any time. They only told us this after Joe Biden got embarrassed and everyone became aware of it during the debate with Donald Trump. And it was irrefutable. It could no longer be hidden from us. The wool could no longer be pulled over our eyes. Just a week before that debate with Donald Trump, there were people who were pointing out that Barack Obama was on stage with Joe Biden and everyone saying Joe Biden is brilliant and Barack Obama has to escort Joe Biden off the stage because he was lost. And it wasn't the only time we had video of that. And we had all of the alphabet news media saying, no, Joe Biden was fine. You don't know what you're saying. You are just making it up because you're a Republican and a conservative. And then we saw the debate and said, oh, no, we were right. The alphabet media is so obsessed with their partisan political ideology that they have destroyed their own credibility, and that's why right now their ratings have been destroyed. Even Democrats are walking away from them because they're saying, you're not being honest. See, there are many Democrats who watch this program, both elected officials and also regular Democrats that watch this program, not because they agree with everything that I have to say. No, it's because at least they know I'm being honest. I'm showing you the information. I'm sharing with you my sources. I'm going over the issues as you can research for yourself, and I'm telling you my conclusion based on those facts, what I think will happen. Now, I'm not always right, and people don't always agree, and that's fine. At least they know what they're getting. Where I'm playing open. It's transparent. This is the transparency that they keep promising us, but they won't give us. And instead you get the view saying that, well, Hispanics are evil and Hispanic men hate women because they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. No, that's not the reason. It's because Bidenomics sucks. It's because inflation has been going up, because Joe Biden got us into more wars and Donald Trump got us into no new wars. And that's the big difference. And the American people recognize that. So I do agree with you, Planet X. The mainstream media has lost their credibility, and that's why no one's watching them. That's why I have videos of the 1,300 videos on YouTube right now and on Rumble. I have videos in those 1,300 that have more views than what CNN and MSNBC were able to get with their demographic over the weekend. And I know there's many people who are far bigger than my channel that regularly get 10 times more views than what CNN, MSNBC, the mainstream news media is getting right now. And that's because they destroyed their credibility. And they have to rebuild public trust. Rick says, RFK is a clear and present danger to corporate profits, not the public, corporate profits. And it's more likely that Matt Gaetz will get approved as Attorney General than such a threat to the money than to money can stand. So if I'm understanding you correctly, Rick, you're saying that many businesses, the pharmaceutical industry in particular, and there is a rumor that had come out after Donald Trump won, and the rumor was coming out that RFK would be picked for the HHS, that's the Health and Human Services Secretary. There was a rumor saying that the top 5 pharmaceutical companies, their CEOs, had a meeting privately to try and figure out what they would do. Now, that was unconfirmed. I don't know if that was correct or not, but it makes business sense to me that while they compete with each other, they kind of don't. And they would want to try and map out the path forward because they want to maximize their profits. I understand that. And I do agree with you that another reason, besides the fact, and I think the primary reason that RFK is going to have difficulty is because he used to be a Democrat. His family are the Kennedys, and he went independent, going against the Democratic Party. And then, even worse than that, he joined with Donald Trump. And so that is, to the Democratic Party, that is a traitor. That is someone who has gone against their ideology, and that makes him demonic. That makes him almost worse than Donald Trump. He's evil and horrible and terrible, and therefore they have to punish him, because Democrats and the progressives are very much into punishing people for not doing what they want. I mean, think about it. Right now, what's the 4B movement? It is punishment. It is punishment of women who are part of the ideology, the intersectional ideology, the feminist ideology in the progressive movement in the Democratic Party. And because you didn't do, the American people, when we voted for Donald Trump, we didn't do what they wanted, what they felt would be good for them, which is very selfish. And because you didn't do what they selfishly wanted you to do, well, now you have to be punished. They're not going to date men. They're not going to have sex with men. Okay, don't. That's actually good for the men. If someone is so petty as to say that they're not going to have sex with you, they're not going to date with you, they're not going to interact with you because they don't agree with the way you vote, your political ideology, then they don't value you as a human being. They value you as a puppet. They value you as a peon, a serf, someone who will obey. They want you to be obedient. That's a slave. And why would you want to date someone or be involved with someone who considers you subhuman? They consider you a slave. They consider you to have no agency. That's not a positive person to be involved with. So the 4B movement, while they're considering it punishment against men and people who voted for Trump, I think it's a reward. Please stay away. Stay as celibate as you can. Stay far away from me and other men, single individuals. Stay away from us because you're not punishing us. You're telling us, you're putting up the red flag saying, hey, danger, warning, warning, crazy. Don't mess with this crazy. It's not worth it. Saving us money too. I mean, God forbid, some people, I heard about one woman said, oh, she was engaged to a man, and because he voted for Trump, she called off the wedding and she left him. I say to that man and people who are in that kind of situation, good for you. This is a good thing, because that would have been a miserable relationship because they didn't value you. They only looked at you as a subordinate, a slave, someone without agency. They expected you to obey whatever you were commanded to do. You are better off. You saved yourself money and pain, emotional pain from that relationship, and you're going to live a better life because of it. It'll suck right now, but guaranteed down the road, you'll see it's a better thing. But these are my thoughts about it. But again, RFK, yes. Do I see the businesses? Well, yes, because it's going to cost some of these businesses more money to be healthier. Because it's really easy and cheap to make a bunch of chemicals and to insert that into food, rather than to grow food, to process that food, to make sure that natural product is edible by human beings. It's more expensive in general than just whipping up a bunch of chemicals in a plant and just injecting it into various food products. And to hold them to a higher standard means that their profit margins will likely reduce, or people will find an alternative because now they're being made aware. Most people don't think about it. Like, again, with Fruit Loops, most people aren't thinking about, oh, the Fruit Loops in the United States is less healthy than the Fruit Loops in Canada or over in Europe because they use natural ingredients there, but not here in America. Why would I want to eat that? Maybe I should be eating cornflakes instead. Maybe I should be eating granola instead. Because why would I want to eat something that they know isn't healthy or not as healthy as it could be, and they just chose not to because they want a profit margin? Mind you, I'm not saying that you should never eat Fruit Loops. If you like it, eat it. Just be aware that it's maybe not the best thing for you, and maybe you want to have something else to supplement that. And that's all the whole Make America Healthy Again movement is about. But that's not necessarily beneficial. If people instead, you may love your Frosted Flakes or your Fruit Loops or whatever cereal, Tricks are for kids, maybe, or Lucky Charms. Maybe you'll only eat 3 bowls a week instead of 5 bowls a week. And instead you'll eat a banana or granola, or you'll get a bagel toasted with butter. I don't know. Whatever it is. And that's bad for that business because they're going to lose some business. Are they upset about RFK? Yes. But I think the bigger issue is RFK is a traitor to the Democratic ideology, to the party. And because he broke with the party, or more importantly, the party broke with him, they rejected him and tried to silence him and blacklist him. And because that didn't work, they now have to punish him. Because every time you see Democrats lose, every time that they don't get what they want, they have a tantrum, there's a riot, there's a protest, they demonize the people who won, they attack. And this is part of what they're doing to RFK. But let me go on. Let's see. Rick says, moderate libertarian civil liberties or voter here. Fantastic. I know a lot of libertarians, like my good friend Larry Sharp, who's actually going to have a show. I'm going to be going in a minute because I know Larry's going to have a show tonight. I think it's at 7, might be at 8 o'clock. But I always like to watch my friend Larry, who I've known for about a decade now. He's a libertarian. I like to hear his views. Larry and I don't always agree, but sometimes we do. And sometimes he has an interesting point of view. So I love hearing from libertarians. I like hearing from Democrats. I like hearing people's different points of view. Now, Rick Reynolds says, good news, the mainstream is no longer mainstream. I only hope that. But I can also tell you, Rick, that the mainstream, we're talking about social media, they are absolutely still in power. They're still suppressing. This channel is suppressed. I've been doing this 18 years. I have many, many videos I have shorts. This is funny. Let me share something with people that they may not be aware of. When I go onto other channels and they do a short video, the 1-minute video, I've seen this. This has happened many times. Alternative. I've done videos with a couple of British guys. And I'll have the same video, the same interview on my channel, simulcast, as they'll have on theirs. They'll get more views than I get. They will take a 1-minute segment of my interview with them, the British boys, and they'll get 17,000, 20,000 views per video. I'll put that same exact short on my channel, and it'll get 20 views. It's because my channel has been targeted. It's been labeled for suppression because YouTube doesn't like that I'm a black conservative Republican. I'm not supposed to exist. And just like RFK, they're trying to blacklist us. They're trying to hide us, to suppress us, which is why I always say, please subscribe, because they don't want my voice to be heard. They don't want libertarian voices to be heard. That's why when you look in your feed, you get The View constantly. Oh, you've got to watch The View. That's an approved channel. That's a channel with messages that are approved for you to consume. That's why they inject ABC, CNN, MSNBC, the mainstream news media, in all of your news feeds since January of 2024. They have been injecting them whether you watch the news or not. You could watch YouTube for nothing but video games and movie trailers, and they will inject the news of their approved list of channels and political commentary from the approved list of voices so that you will always hear what they want. It's unfair. It's just unfair. But that's okay, because we're going to get to 5,000 subscribers. That's it. I'm not looking for 5 million. I'm not looking for 500,000. I just want to get to 5,000 subscribers. I think we can do that if you guys will help. Let me move on. And the mainstream is suffering because more people are saying they're giving channels like mine a chance, like Larry Sharp a chance, like Hardlands Media. They're giving them a chance. They're giving Andy Hooser a chance to be heard. And when they hear us, they're saying, I like what you have to say way more than those partisan hacks in the mainstream media. Let me go on. Joel. Hey, Joel. Good to see you here with me. Joel says, Joe Biden is, quote, sharp as a tack. Yes. How long into 2024? Right up to the moment. And in fact, the night of the debate with Donald Trump, if you looked at CNN and their responses, even then you will hear people like Joy Reid said, Joe Biden's sharp as a tack. In fact, Kamala Harris, when she was anointed and she was doing interviews, the one time she was asked by the mainstream news media, not Fox News, everyone else, she was only asked one other time, gee, what about Joe Biden? She said, he's fantastic. He's brilliant. He's right on top of his game. He's a part-time zombie. We know this. It's been confirmed by the international credible news media. They all agree that he only works 5 days a week, only part-time. And they won't ask the question, who's in charge when he's not? When Joe Biden, in the 18 hours every day that he is incapable, not unwilling, incapable of being president of the United States, who's in charge? Who's making decisions? No, the mainstream won't ask that because they will lie to you, and they have lied to you. And that's why people are looking for alternatives, and that's a good thing. Let's see. Rick says carbs are the devil, even without the chemical preservative and dyes. Keto, Uber, allies. Let me mention for everyone, I know nothing about nutritional anything. I have no idea. I don't even, you'll almost never hear me talk about nutrition or calories or keto or carbohydrates. I know nothing about it. It's zero information. I remember and I know a lot of facts about a lot of different issues, a lot of different subjects. I know nothing about nutrition because I don't care. I'm either blessed with great genetics or it's just that I'm eating the right things for me. But I eat meat, I eat bread, I eat potatoes and rice in every meal that I eat, eggs and bacon. That's what I eat. And I don't care. That's it. My cholesterol is almost too low. It's probably, my cholesterol is probably one of the lowest cholesterol levels in the entire Bronx for men, not just at 50, in their 50s, but men in their 20s don't have cholesterol levels as low as mine. I do absolutely nothing for it. I don't take any medications. I don't exercise. I smoke cigarettes. That's not a good thing. And I have a low cholesterol level. It's just the way it happens. So I don't care. Everyone goes, oh, but you got to eat like this and you got to do that. I don't do any of that crap. I just eat reasonably for me, and I eat the foods that I like, and I'm okay. I think if more people, but at the same time, let me say this. I do cook a lot. I don't eat a lot of prepared foods. It's not that I won't eat McDonald's, and there's nothing wrong with eating McDonald's. RFK eats McDonald's. Nothing wrong with that. Go out and get a Wendy's. I like Wendy's more than I like McDonald's. Fries, McDonald's fries, the old fries, fantastic. Love those. But Wendy's burger, much better. That's my opinion. So I'll eat a Wendy's burger every so often. Why not? It's not going to kill me. But 90% of the time, I cook my own food. I'll get the food and I cook. Because that's what I was taught to do when I was 14. When I was 14, I was taught how to cook. I've actually been pretty good. I'm a single man. Most of my life, I've had to cook for myself. Otherwise, I would starve. And unlike what we see now in the generation, I grew up before there was an Uber or Uber Eats or any of these services to bring food to you. I grew up, I had to go to a store, had to buy the food and bring it back. And then I had to prepare it, and then I had to cook it. No one was preparing foods for me. I had to make my own food. So I learned how to cook, and I learned to go shopping. And I think that's an essential aspect of life. More youth, younger people today need to know how to do that, because you won't always have an Uber Eats to go and get your food for you. And more importantly, that's part of the exercise. It helps to burn off your fat, keep you healthy, to go to the store, get the stuff you need, and come back. That's part of your exercise. It keeps you healthy and fit. Cooking your own food keeps you healthy and fit. There's less chemicals. I'm not pouring a bunch of red dye #1 into my food. I'm going to use, I'll use, hot sauce or Tabasco sauce or various seasonings, turmeric and such. I'll put that into my foods, but I don't need to do what we're seeing with the chemicals, and I'll have less chemicals because I don't need my food preserved. I'm going to cook when I eat. So anyway, so I'm just answering why I don't know anything about keto. I really don't. I'm pretty sure I eat or live on a keto diet, but I don't know what it is exactly. And I don't know anything about calories and such. But that's just my take on that. Let's see. Rick also says he gets the view as a parody of the left. I wish they were. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg was a comedian. I wish it was comedic. It's not. They're dead serious. Now, mind you, they've promised that they would leave America if Trump was in charge. They didn't. They said that they would stop the show if, Trump and the Republicans were in charge. They don't. They'll give you lots of excuses. Again, they want to punish you. Feel guilty, feel bad. You're the bad person for not doing what Whoopi Goldberg or Joy Behar wants you to do. No, I reject that. That's not the way life should be. Let's see. Joel goes on to say, I've got high hopes for RFK waking up everyone on our food supply issues. MAHA, which means Make America Healthy Again. He'll have some, just to mention it for you, Joel, he's going to have some level of success, but we should temper our expectations. Things are not going to turn around instantly in January. There will be a lot of changes that are going to happen. They're going to happen relatively quickly, especially for a nation of our size, but it won't be instantaneous. And there's a lot of people who, they eat McDonald's every meal. They're going to keep eating McDonald's for every meal. There are people who get Uber Eats every day. There are people who get prepared food sent to them every day. They're not going to stop. But there will be hope for the next generation, where maybe because of what RFK is saying, because people will pause and think about, do I really want all those chemicals in every single meal? I can make a hamburger for myself. I can make it as big or as small as I want it to be. I can put on whatever type of cheese I want. I can do all that in my own home, and I could probably do it better. And guess what? The ghetto burgers, that's what we used to call them, ghetto burgers. When you didn't go out and get McDonald's, and your mom, she would make a hamburger for you and put it on 2 pieces of white bread, like Wonder Bread, and she'd throw the meat on there, and you'd got that, and that's your hamburger. It was a good hamburger. It was bigger than the McDonald's hamburger. It was just as good, if not more. What's the problem? I know it was, but we were young there then. That was back in the 70s and 80s, and people would laugh and, oh, you didn't get McDonald's, you got a mom burger. Okay. But you know what? Perfectly fine. We need another generation being taught to do that. We should have another generation of 14-year-olds that know how to cook. I think it's just an essential way to, how can you grow up not knowing how to feed yourself? I just don't understand it. Let me see here. Where did I leave off? Rick Reynolds says, Larry Sharp is my gateway drug to No Soundbites Allowed. I got a few libertarians that come and check me out from Larry's channel. I love Larry. Again, he's a dear friend of mine. I love working with Larry whenever I can. And I'm sure that some of my audience go and watch Larry now because we've often worked together, done channels. Some people are going over to check out Hard Lens Media and Kit Cabello. I'm perfectly happy with that. It's not here's the thing. Many of the social media companies, many of the parties, the political parties, they want you to think it's one or the other. You can only watch Fox News or you watch CNN or MSNBC or CBS, but you can't watch both sides of the political spectrum. You can only listen to Roland Martin or Joy Reid, but you can't listen to Larry Sharp or Kit Cabello or No Soundbites Allowed. That's a lie. I listen to all of them on a regular basis. Every day. Plus, I listen to Deutsche Welle News, and I check out what The Guardian is saying, and I listen to the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and I read the BBC, and I check out what's going on in news around the world every day. Why? Because there's nothing that limits me except myself. I know the establishment government, either party, Democrats or Republicans, don't want you to do that. They want you to only get the news they think is important. Well, guess what? I have a different opinion. I want the news the world is talking about. So when I want to find out about what's happening, say, with the hostages held by Hamas for over a year now, I don't really check in American news because they don't want to talk about that. But the British are. The Germans are. The Israelis are. Hell, Al Jazeera is talking about it. I check out all of that because then I get to find out. When I found out, all the news I found out about the Americans that were abandoned by the Biden-Harris administration in 2023, late April, first week of May of 2023, Joe Biden abandoned 16,000 Americans in the Sudan, told them, figure out your own way home from Africa. Bye. That's a fact. It's not me. I'm not blowing that up. That's literally what happened. And I found out more about that from listening to the Indian, like the Hindustan Times, listening to the Times of Israel, The Guardian, listening to the BBC, Deutsche Welle. They were covering that news because they were trying to get their people out of the Sudan because there was a civil war that started there. They were talking about it more. American news didn't want to talk about it. Why? Because it was bad for the Biden-Harris administration. Because Joe Biden abandoned 16,000 Americans. And that doesn't play well in American politics. So they stopped talking about it. May 5th, that was the last day, May 5th, 2023, last time the American news media said anything about the Sudan and the 16,000 Americans that were abandoned there. Well, you know what? That they didn't get home. There's still more news about that story. Guess what? Deutsche Welle has talked about it. The Nippon News has talked about it. There is more news about that situation, and I have followed it, and that's why I'm able to share it with you guys. So I recommend that for a lot of people. Let me see. Miss K mentions that she cooks because she knows what's going into the food, like saffron. And there you go. That's a great reason. I particularly like Tabasco sauce. I like that in almost everything that I make. Depending on what I'm making, sometimes I put in crushed coffee beans as well. If you ever ask anyone who's ever had me cook for them, and I make my chicken, I make this fantastic chicken, but it has ground coffee beans in it. I marinate coffee beans and orange juice and a bunch of, like, half a dozen different seasonings, but everyone loves it. Everyone goes, that sounds like a horrible mix, but then they have it and they love it. It's fantastic. Rick says, with names like Whoopi and Joy, you'd think The View would be happy. No, but to be honest, think about it, and again, anyone on the left who would like to disagree with me, any progressive out there that wants to give evidence otherwise, please do. But the left, the further left you go, the more miserable you are. The more socialist, the more closer you are to socialism and communism, the absolutely worse you feel every day. I can say that from my experience living in Moscow in 1991 under the Soviet Union at that time. And I can say that in looking across this nation at campuses across the nation, including Binghamton University, but also UCLA, looking at the progressive cities across the nation like Boston, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, Austin, Boulder, Colorado, and of course, New York City. People are pissed off constantly. They're depressed all the time. Their leaders constantly just angry about something and everything every day. All of the activists for the progressive movement are absolutely pissed off every second of every day, every time they talk to you. They are never happy. Have you ever seen Ilhan Omar saying something happy besides the fact that something happened to someone on 9/11? Other than moments like that where she's denigrating the United States, have you ever heard her say anything that's happy? When you listen to Rashida Tlaib, she's always angry. AOC is always pissed off. They're never having fun. They never laugh because everything is horrible, because it's never what they want. No matter what you give them, they always want more. And because they're always taking, because they're always selfish, because they never give back, they're never happy. It's kind of sad. Let's see. Miss K says that keto is a diet recommended by the top neuropsychiatrists and top cardiac surgeons. Okay. I know nothing about it. I know nothing about any of that. If anyone's coming to this channel to find out about keto and health, and no, I can't help you. Can't help you. I know nothing about it. I know I talked to my buddy Larry about it, and he jokes about it all the time. I know nothing about that stuff. So I just have to take everyone's word on it. I just know. If you ask me how to make a steak, I can tell you. I can make wonderful steaks. You want to make something with cheese and butter and, greasy, grilled, fried types of foods, I'm fantastic with that. But, you want to tell me about tofu, I know nothing about it. You want to tell me about keto, I know nothing about it. I'm honest. Hey, I'm honest. Planet X says, the Alphabet News, mainstream media, has become an arm of the DNC. Well, they've been that for decades now. Literally, I would say in my lifetime, I would put it at about the end of the Clinton administration. So the late 1990s, 2000 is when they just sold their souls, the mainstream news media, and started just becoming more propaganda than news. And it wasn't an overnight thing. They slowly switched. And I'd say in the last 20 years, since the Obama administration, they just completely sold out and just said, nope, we're just going to do propaganda all day, all the time. Planet X goes on to say, I'm actually quite fascinated how gullible so many people are to believe whatever they're told and refuse to have any critical thought or skepticism at all. You know what, Planet X? That's an important thought. Because we kind of hear the same thing coming from the left, saying, oh, well, you voted for Republicans because you just don't understand. I don't know how many times that I've been in various events and I've had people walk up to me, almost always white liberals, almost always, but also black people as well, Hispanics as well, who've walked up to me and said, you can't be a Republican. You're black. You're Hispanic. You can't be a conservative. Just can't. It's like I'm violating a law of physics or a law of the universe. And I say to them, why not? Well, it's not good for you. Well, do you know what my values are? Do you want to know what my values are? Because my values are the reason why I'm a Republican, not the other way around. And based on my values, Of course I would be a conservative Republican. How could I be anything else? And they look at you and they get very bewildered and say, you just don't understand. I'm college educated. I've lived around the world. I used to speak four languages fluently at one point in my life. I've owned businesses. I've been a stockbroker. I do this on a regular basis. I've been doing this for 18 years. I'm not a dumb man. But they want to believe that because it allows them to believe their worldview. And that's the thing I want to point out. The reason why people, whether it's on the right or the left, the reason why there are some people who will believe whatever they are told and they only read the headlines and they don't look into the actual articles and they misquote what they mishear is because it's comfortable. Because it allows them to have a worldview that they've always had. They don't have to deal with the challenges. Life is challenging. I've had car accidents. I've been in the middle of a civil war. I've been in where there was a coup attempt, fires, floods, earthquakes. I've been attacked by crackheads. I've been homeless twice in my life. A lot of crap. Life happens. And it happens to all of us. And it's difficult at times. Not everyone has the ability, and I don't mean mental ability, I mean the ability emotionally to carry the weight of all of those things all the time. It's easier to just get along, to just do what you're told, to just accept whatever these supposed experts are saying. It's easier. It takes less brain power. It means there's less of a burden. You can sleep easier at night because you don't have to deal with any of that. Someone else is dealing with it, and they're supposed to be the expert. And so you can just go by whatever they say because I don't want to deal with it, which is why you have more people who know everything about the Kardashians. There are more people who know about the Kardashians. They know about the individuals and the lives of the housewives of wherever the hell they are. They know more things about LeBron James than they do about their own local congressman, their local assembly member, than they know about the mayor of their town or city. It's because it's easier. And I get it. Life sucks sometimes. Life is difficult all the time. And it's hard. I get it. I'm 56. There's a reason why I have gray hair. Life is hard. Sometimes it sucks. I get that. But I think you live a better quality of life when you address the issues head on. When you don't just leave it for someone else. Because when someone else is dealing with it for you, they're not going to do this for your best interest. They're going to do their best interest. Of course they would. Everyone acts on their best interest. So they're going to maximize their ideas, their agendas, their goals, because they're the one doing the work. And since you're following, well, you get whatever's left over. But you don't have to work hard for that. Let me put it in a different way. Maybe it makes more sense this way. I don't blame illegal aliens for entering into America. Let me explain that because I want to be clear. I understand that if you live in one of the hellholes around the world, whether that's Haiti or Angola, you're in South America, wherever it is in the world, you live in a hellhole country. And you find out that, America has an open border. They don't believe in under Democrats, the border is wide open. And if you come to America, if you can make it here and you can get into the country, if you get caught or you turn yourself in, they're then going to put you into a major city like LA, New York, Boston, Chicago, somewhere around the country. And they're going to give you a hotel room. You're going to live in a 3-star hotel room. In your native country, you live in a shack, a couple of pieces of metal just laying on top of each other, along with everyone else around you. You just live in a shanty town. You have no water. You have no running water. You have a hole in the ground for a bathroom. You have a dirt floor. In many countries, this is what people are living with. And you can go to America and live in a 3-star hotel with maid service every day. And they're going to give you a credit card to buy $13,000 worth of food. You're starving to death in your home country. Everyone in your entire community of that shanty town, you're all suffering from malnutrition. It's whether there's war in your country or your country is just poor or it's third world, a dozen different reasons, but life sucks for you. And if you can make it into America, you're going to have a comfortable bed that's made for you every night. You're going to get food and clothing and money, more money than you've ever had in your life. Because even people who are in poverty in the United States, making $12,000, which is very few, less than 1%, about 1% of the nation live at $12,000 a year. And if at $12,000 a year, abject poverty in America, you are richer than 60% of the entire world. A lot of people don't realize that. That's how different, how vastly distant the chasm of the quality of life in America versus the rest of the world. We have even better quality of life than almost every other first world country by almost every single metric. So if you're an illegal alien and you're looking at this chasm, this Grand Canyon of difference between the quality of life that you're living right now where you are versus going to America, getting caught and being treated as an illegal alien, and these are all the benefits you get, why wouldn't you do it? I don't blame the illegal aliens for doing that, but it's difficult. They're making an active choice. They're doing something to improve their lives and the lives of their kids sometimes. I get it. It makes sense. But most of their country isn't making that trip. Most of the people, in whether it's Ecuador or it's Niger or it's Thailand, whatever country you want to point to, doesn't really matter. They're not, whether it's in the Middle East, any of the countries out there, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, whatever. Most of their people aren't trying to enter into the United States illegally or legally. They're also not trying to fix their own country because both things are incredibly difficult and you might not succeed. Instead, they just keep their head down and they just live with it. That's the reality. Most people, no matter how oppressive and bad their life is, will just live with it because it's easier than trying to make your life better or doing something that will give you a better opportunity. So I don't blame the illegal aliens for coming to America. I blame America for having an open border system that allows certain people that shouldn't be here and encourages people to take a multi-thousand-mile march into America. I blame the open border system, these policies, the progressives, where we have tens of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of children, unaccompanied minors. That's the official designation for them. Just children of various ages, 11, 10, 15, that are traveling by themselves with these caravans, thousands of miles to get into America. Many of them being sold into slave trade, many of them being used as drug mules, many of them abused along the entire process to get to America. That's child abuse. And that child abuse is only happening because of the open border policies of the left. I don't blame that child for... I understand why the parents sent that child with that caravan to enter into America. I don't blame the child for going on that trip to get into America. I absolutely blame the progressives and the open border policy for giving them that enticement, dangling that cheese in front of them, in front of that mousetrap, to make them do this, to have that abuse inflicted on those children. That's evil. Now, no one wants to talk about that. No one wants you to think of the connection of that, because it's easier to go to sleep at night not realizing that the open border policy is torturing unaccompanied minors. It's easy to go to sleep and go, open border, because no one should be an illegal alien, and every country should have an open border, even though no country except America really has open borders. That's just a fallacy. It's not true. But they go to sleep saying, I've supported open borders so that people can just come into America. And they're not thinking about, and how do they get here? And what are the consequences of that open border? What do people have to do to sell their body, sell their souls, sell drugs, whatever the torture and the horror they have to go through in these multi-thousand-mile marches to get to that open border? Because you invited them. Because you said, if you can make it, we're going to give you more than you can possibly imagine. You'll have a better quality of life than everyone you've ever grown up with, everyone you've ever known in your country. If you can make it. That is horrendous. When you really stop and think about it, that is evil. Which is one of the reasons why I don't like open border policies. I don't think it's good. Because it is evil in what it inflicts on people to try and get that open border and get those rewards that are being given to people who are breaking our law. It's a false hope. It's a danger. And not many people will take the time to actually have this conversation with you. Whether you agree with it or not, that's up to you. Whether you like it or not, I don't care. You don't have to like it. I don't like it. It's not something that makes me happy, but it's the truth. It's a reality of the world. And yes, your life is easier if no one ever told you that. Because you can now that you know this, someone has explained it to you, you can never think of the open border in the same way. Because I can't think of the open border in the same way. I always think of the cost. I always think about the torture that happens to those unaccompanied minors. And yes, many women as well. And yes, even some men. I can't not think about that, which is why I'm so adamant about immigration. Enforcing immigration laws. Closing the border. Ending that cycle of abuse and pain and torture. And I think if more people paid attention to the details, understood the consequences of that open border, more people would agree with me than the progressive left. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I know I'm gregarious. I go into it a lot, but I thought it was worthwhile. I hope that answered that for you, Planet X. Whether you agree with it or not is up to you, but to understand my reasoning, my thinking about that. Miss X says, let's see, it's just low keto. I think you're talking about, Miss K. Is just low carb, high. Again, I don't know what carbs are. I don't look at fat in my diet. I have no clue. I will occasionally look at the ingredients that I have. Most of the things I'm getting are, meat and sauces. Not so many sauces. I make my own. So there aren't too many things that I worry about with ingredients because of what I tend to eat. But I have no idea about the fat content, the calories. I know nothing about any of that stuff. I don't even care. I don't care. Because it doesn't affect my life. It doesn't affect my health. Most men at 56 pray and hope that they could have my weight and my cholesterol level. They would fight over it. I'm lucky. It's genetics, so I don't care. But that's just me. Miss K agrees with me, though. Untracked missing children, the unaccompanied minors, is very sad and it is abuse. And I agree. Okay. So, while we were on a little bit longer than with Andy, I hope everyone appreciated or enjoyed the extra time we took after talking with Andy. I spent a little more time than I expected to. Wow. Yeah, I definitely did. I was only expecting to be on until about 6:30. Here it is at 7 o'clock. Folks, we'll have more stuff coming up. I do need to mention that the interview with Hard Lens Media with Kit Cabello that I was expecting to do this Thursday at the 21st, because of technical issues, Kit and I were talking about it, and we have to push that back. That will be November 30th instead of the 21st. So we're still going to do it. We're still going to be talking about the potential of a second civil war in the United States, talking to Kit from a more leftist point of view and my view from a more conservative and Republican point of view. We're going to have that discussion about it, but that has to be November 30th instead of the 21st. No problem. I just wanted you guys to know that. Everything else on the schedule looks to be the same. Folks, I thank you. I appreciate you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't leave out Andy Hooser and the Voice of Reason, who gave me the opportunity to be on his program today.